So, thank you.
Wala na pong PNP dito, Mr. Chair.
Wala nang... sino ang particular sa PNP, Congresswoman Castro, that you'd like
Yung
to...
kasi tinatanong ko, Mr. Chair, bumaba na ba yung supply from 2016 to 2023 based dun sa survey. So sabi nila, law enforcement daw yung mga kaalam.
To clarify po, Mr. Chair, hindi po hagip sa household survey po yung enforcement data, which includes po yung seizures. So we best recommend po that this question be coursed through to our law enforcement agencies. Thank you.
Anyway, Mr. Chair, wala na yung PNP. Sila na lang tanungin ko later. On the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Congresswoman Castro. The first to interpolate the presentation of Senator Trillanes is Congressman Rog Gutierrez. But before that, just one clarificatory question sa PSA. Yung survey na ginawa ng DDB, do you confirm that that is an accurate survey result?
Your Honor, good evening. What we can confirm is that it underwent the survey clearance processes. So the survey clearance process is a mechanism for government agencies to secure a clearance on the methodologies. Say, for example, if they have a sampling design, it should be a probability design of sampling. The way to interpret the data, something like that. So all of these methodologies are included and must be taken into consideration for that government agency to conduct the specific survey that they want to conduct.
Okay, sige, salamat. Pero doon ba sa results ng 1.1 million, does that mean that you have surveyed and asked questions to that number of people?
Yes, Your
Yung 1
Honor.
million? So yun yun, ano? Hindi yan kagaya ng normal survey that you only have sample size. So dito, actual number. So when you say 6 million yung na-interview, 6 million yung results, that means you have interviewed 6 million people.
No, sir. What we mean here is an estimate of the population. So, meron po kaming number of respondents that we have that we get, no? Like, for example po, data on 2023, we have 12,495 respondents, which is taken from the general population po of 10 to 69 years old, which is 86,498,895. At doon po namin kinuha yung estimate based on statistics that and science-based data po.
Sige, kasi I'm just wondering, I'm not quite familiar with the science-based approach and methodology nyo ginagawa. No? Kasi like, when you say an ordinary survey, kunyari, tatanong mo yung household, ano yung sabong paborito nila, you only get a sample size. Sa drugs ba, ganyan din, sample size?
Yun din po yung ginawa namin dito, sir. We get a representative sample
So, ibig
from the
sabihin...
general population at randomly selected po ito.
Sige, okay, sige. Salamat po. Thank you po. So, the first to interpolate is Congressman Rog Gutierrez. You're right. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, before I ask the good senator, just on those points earlier with the DDP, I'd like to ask them po, to the dangerous board po, Mr. Chair, if I'd like to ask them.
DDB?
Sorry. Mr. Chair, thank you. To DDB lang po, I hope you understand. We're not here to argue po, no? You're the experts, kayo po talagang nakakalam sa statistics. Ngunit, I think you'd understand our surprise po, no, with your results. Just to really hammer down, sabi po niyo 95% sure, you have the statistical background to back it up. However, I think we'd find it hard to believe po, no? Because when we're talking about this, especially on the topic of use, there would be a strong response bias to this po, no? Because this is not necessarily a behavior that you would willingly admit to in a survey. And I'm sure you have the science to back it up that you consider this pa rin But you still remain positively confident in the numbers, the estimates that you've given. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The survey instruments and the methodologies were framed in such a way that will still maintain the authenticity of the answers of the respondents as much as possible.
And despite this, there's no observable difference given the war. I mean, I think that's where most of the congressmen are expressing their disbelief. Because you have your survey, your data points are 2015 and 2019, tama po ba? Yet during supposedly the peak of the between 2016 to 2018, it's had only an effect of 4%
Mr.
for
Chair,
drug users.
for the drug users. And based on the data presented from the National Household Survey, yes, but we emphasize that there is a continuous downward trend, which could be attributed on the policy systems and mechanisms that has been institutionalized through the national strategy framework, which we are implementing on both supply and reduction, together with all the task agencies mandated to implement these in their respective programs and priorities.
Thank you. And just to be clear, the DDB, just to distinguish the difference, the DDB is more on the policy consideration side in support of the Office of the President, while the PDEA is the enforcement side po, no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Do you make use of any other method of coming up with these estimates aside from your survey, or you're really just relying on this every 3-year household survey po?
Specific user data, Mr. Chair, yes po.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to direct my next question to the PDEA through ASEC Gumban, perhaps. ASEC, good evening. Do you also, as the enforcement agency charged with, do you concern yourself also with statistics such as that on users, or you're purely on the supply side lang po?
We get the data also from danger regarding how many users that we have.
Okay, so
That is the accurate one.
So you make use of the DDB statistics also. So the PDEA would likewise stand by the statistics that are presented by
Yes,
DDB.
Mr. Chair.
So it's shocking to see po, no? I agree with the finding, the conclusion of Congressman Abante. Nakakagulat po, no? Na despite the war from 2016, it would appear there was no tangible, acceptable difference po, no? No reduction in the users. So that's something I think that the committee would have to consider in its committee report in relation to the JK portion of the Quad. With that, Mr. Chair, I thank you, DDB and PDEA. I'd like to now ask former Senator Trillanes regarding the presentation earlier. Senator, good evening po.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I'll make this short, just a few slides. I'm sure the other colleagues have some questions. Pero nabanggit po ni, just as a background po, no, former Senator Trillanes, can you give us a background of how you would be the right person to explain po yung Laskanyas affidavit? Because as we understand, of course, unfortunately, as much as we'd want to have Laskanyas present the affidavit himself, he's not around. What is your experience or relation po to Laskanyas that you would be presenting his testimony here tonight?
When he was still in the country, kami po yung nag-provide sa kanya ng security and safe houses, no? Then ang ginawa nila Duterte and ng DOJ, they filed they fabricated cases against him para ma-issuean siya ng warrant at makulong siya, ma-silence siya. So by then he was able to slip out of the country even before the warrant was issued, and we facilitated that, no? Kasi hindi pa naman siya fugitive, so we're still not breaking any laws. So we were able to do that, at they made sure na no? They followed through, kinancel po yung kanyang passport at pinasahan siya ng red notice sa Interpol. But by then nakapag-seek siya ng asylum somewhere. So yan po ang background nun. Then since kami po yung unang nag-file ng communication at sa ICC, meron po kaming coordination with them. We pass information with them.